every single class, I could like see and then keep it. And your least favorite person is.
Yeah, but. Okay. It's fine.
Just kidding.
Hey guys, you can turn to page 10. Okay, so just to review, how do we find inverse of a 2x2 matrix? So let's say we named it A, B, C, and D. First thing we do is we find the determinant. Okay, so determinant is a part of the inverse. It's the coefficient that's in front of your 2x2 matrix. So to find the determinant, we do AD minus BC. So we always start with the upper left corner, and from there we build our diagonal. So A times D minus B times C. Your determinant will always get you a number. Okay. What's the special case for determinant? If determinant is what? 0, we know that the inverse. Yes, or yeah, there's no inverse. The inverse does not exist. Okay. So, but there's any other determinant, we can use it. So we get that number, and now we put it into the inverse formula. So to indicate that we're talking about the inverse of matrix A or matrix B or matrix C, we do A uppercase of that letter, and then we do that -1. That -1 doesn't mean we raise it to a power. That's just the notation for inverse. Okay. So we take that determinant, we put it outside our fraction or outside our 2x2 matrix, and we say 1 over the determinant. So if the determinant is 2, we do 1 over 2. If the determinant is 5, we do 1 over 5. And then we have to adjust our 2x2 matrix in a way where it will produce something that will cancel out the original matrix, right? Because we know that if I multiply a matrix by its inverse, I'm going to end up with an identity matrix. So we have to kind of adjust our initial matrix around. We have to adjust our elements, or our diagonal. We make them swap places. And then the other diagonal, we change their signs. And then the last step, we just distribute that fraction through each of the elements. Okay. So how far did we get? Did we do just 1 and 2? Okay, we did 1 and 2. Okay, so let's try 3 and 4. Find the determinant and then build your inverse matrix. Try number 3 and 4. Okay, what do you notice about number 3?
Impossible.
Because determinant is 0. Okay, so number 3, determinant is 0. No inverse exists for matrix C. Okay, right, try number 4. Okay, here's number 4. Determinant is 10 because 4 minus a -6 is a positive 10. So careful. We got to keep track of our negatives, right? It's not -2, it's 4 minus a -6, a positive 10. So once you find your determinant, you put that in the denominator outside in your fraction. So 1/10. You're going to flip flop your A and D. Looks like that's not going to make any changes because those are the same two numbers. And then the 2 and -3, you're going to keep those numeric values there. You're just going to change their signs. So this 2 becomes a -2, and this -3 becomes a positive. Okay. Distribute that 1/10 through. I get 2/10, 3/10, -2/10, and 2/10. Those all reduce down to those fractions there. If you don't reduce your fraction without a calculator, I'll still give you credit. Okay, but I just took the time to reduce. Okay, so all right, let me go over the problem below. This is more of a challenge problem, but we're going to practice a few of these. But any questions with 4? Now, there's something special that, or we have to get used to with inverse. And that's the fact that if I'm trying to solve an equation, I have to go through a certain step. So let's say I had, I want to just go through, show an example here. Let's say I had matrix A and matrix B, and I'm able to multiply those to produce matrix C. Okay, just want to show you an example. Let's say I want to solve for matrix B, right? Typically, if we're thinking, oh, if I want to divide, if I want to get something by itself, I'm going to divide, right? So normally you would say, okay, maybe if you treat it like an equation, you would say matrix C divided by matrix A, right? That may be your first instinct. Now that's how you would solve an equation if it was just a normal variable or algebraic equation, but this is not how matrices work, okay? So if I want to solve for a certain matrix and or get a certain matrix by itself, and I want to get that by itself, if I want to move, let's say I want to solve for matrix B, if I want to move matrix A over, I'm not going to divide, but I'm going to the way that we quote unquote divide by matrix is we call the inverse. So anytime I want to make a matrix swap places, I'm going to turn it into its inverse. So I'm not going to divide, I'm just going to make it turn into its inverse. So if I want to solve for matrix B, I'm going to have to move that matrix A over, it's going to turn into its inverse, and it's going to have to be in front. Okay, so that's important. So it's going to be inverse of matrix A times matrix C. Okay, does that process make sense? Yeah. Okay. So anytime I want to move a matrix to the other side of the equation, I'm not going to divide, I'm just going to turn it into its inverse, and I'm going to put it in front. Everybody good with that? Okay, so we're going to take that concept and apply it to this problem below. Okay. So let's say matrix A is this given here, and then if I were to multiply A times B, this would be the result, or quote unquote matrix C. Okay. It says find matrix B. Okay, so we know this is true, right? We know that matrix A times matrix B will produce this matrix AB. So if I want to solve for matrix B, what do we have to move? That's right. This inverse of A is going to swap out. It's going to move. It's going to move in front of AB, and it's going to turn into an inverse. Okay, so we know that matrix B must be equal to the inverse of matrix A times matrix AB. Does that make sense? So really, if I want to find matrix B, I'm just going to find the inverse of matrix A and take that inverse and multiply with matrix AB. Okay. So let's find the inverse of matrix A. So we're going to step to the side and figure out how to find matrix. Okay. So if I want to find the inverse of matrix A, I first have to find the what?
Determinant.
Good, determinant. So AD minus BC. What's the determinant of matrix A?
2.
2, good. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 6 is 6. 2. So 1 over the determinant, and I have to swap some things around in my original matrix A. Make the 2 and 4 swap places. And do it with the 1 and 6. Change the signs. Okay, multiply the 1/2 through. And then we should be ready to go through our multiplication process, right? Our first step is to get to the inverse, and then we can multiply these two, because we know that if we multiply these two, that will be what matrix B is equal to. Okay, so distribute the 1/2 through. Do some cleanup here. 2, -3, -1/2, and 1. Okay, any questions here? So now I'm going to take the inverse of matrix A, multiply it by matrix AB, and then see what I get. So here's my inverse of matrix A. Remember, when we multiply, we put it in the upper corner, right? Or we get the corners here and build our 2 by 2. We know 2 by 2 with 2 by 2 will give us 2 by 2. Okay, so when we multiply, we go from left to right, top to bottom, and then we pair the numbers, right? So 2 and 30 goes together, 21 and -3 goes together. And those are slightly messy numbers there. So I'll just finish with the math for us. So I get 60 minus 63, which gives us -3. -40 plus 42 is a +2. -15 plus 21 is 6. 10 minus 14 is -4. So we know this must be matrix B. Okay, any questions?
Are you willing just on the quiz?
This, if it shows up, it'll probably be more like a bonus question, but I still want us to be able to do this. Okay, so on the next page, page 11, you see how number 5 is the same format. So see if you can try number 5, and I'll leave this on the board so you can follow those steps. Okay, so I'm going to skip the top page because that's just finding the determinant and find the inverse. You know, we're getting more comfortable with that. So after you try number 5, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you the quiz review. We can start working through that. But, I'll leave this on the board here so you can see the steps. But try number 5 on page 11. Uh, yeah, for now, we can use a calculator. But the numbers will be cleaner on the quiz. But if you make a mistake on the quiz because they are big numbers, I just want to see the steps. I'll be more forgiving because I'm care more about the steps than you make a mistake with adding and subtracting. Okay, I'm gonna make some more copies for the next period, but if you guys can, if you're good with this, if you guys can start the first quiz review, we'll try to get through as much as we can, pages 1 and 2. I also included quiz review worksheets 2 and 3, but we'll hit those in the next few days. The keys are attached in the back, so you guys can check your work. But I'll be right back. I want to make some copies for the next period. So get started on the quiz review. Our goal is to try to just get through the first 2 pages.
Yeah. As new as this age, those name.
Right.
Yes, it has to be just the same. Yeah, I think the first one would be undefined. This one after the perception. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, they just take all both. I'll go with it.
Me too. Which other confused with?
They wanted to multiply by 3.
Yeah, the first, no, just the first one. You must have, just to the first block.
But like, all of them, and then it's just.
No, but the three only goes to the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just kind of, interesting.
It's like a determinant.
So you go by each one, right?
Yeah.
You vote.
What
What about it?
It's actually pretzels.
It wasn't bad. Okay, wait, but it's like, it's just super easy yesterday. We just watched. The day first voting, like, playing the game. So it's, you can say that like. Carry it to me. What do you mean that game? How do you play a game with a game?
You guys.
First of all, I've never
The chair.
played ecology. Oh my god, we did party game. That's not where we're playing. It's not what we're playing. Just no rules for that. No, there were rules and that's. It's like fucking cards on the page. There's no rules. Like it's 3 minus 1. Negative 8. So you were just saying that over picture.
Okay, this number that you got.
I can't skip. Then you go. Okay, it's not like it's like awful. Okay.
Minus.
People care.
Yeah, but it's negative.
It's not bad.
I doubt it.
And if you're like, okay, did you see it? No, I'm like.
And then.
Oh my God. I think I might skip one. Non-stop. She was on, oh, that stupid yesterday.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's not even my last name, my last name, so I had an egg. I had tried to do something, and it's the extra.
In bed.
Good, yeah.
It was on the right, and then this one.
I haven't finished.
Like, help.
Monday. No. Friday.
Can I get it to me?
Or do business.
I'm not taking words.
Did that look like you did?
Oh, no, one
It takes a long time.
yeah, the level teacher is Russian, but then the AP teacher is, his name is Mr. Hojo.
No.
Mr. Hojo is like so passive aggressive, like he tries to be funny and like makes fun of people, like to be sweet, but he sounds like passive aggressive.
By that.
Yeah, it's just.
I think usually that.
Wait.
Yeah, 21.
Yeah.
For example, whenever I walk into this class with Bill's gear, he's always like, dress code violation. Yeah.
What? No one takes just
In the past, like, that's the big problem. Sometimes he's like, it's like, you know, Josh Allen doesn't just like find a first formula he sees, he doesn't find his first secret.
Wait, can I see that? I don't know
He's
this.
talking about formulas, I was one to find,
I don't know.
and he was like trying to make like an analogy.
I got for you.
He's saying this, like, you're going around, calm down, that's not like from a person.
Makes it cute. I have a theory for this.
I know he has like she's running. She yells. I don't take it. My friends.
Mr. Foreman.
Yeah. She was talking about it. She was talking. Please talk her. Who was talking to Brendan? Oh, okay. We're dressing. Sorry, my bad. I try not to. Oh, 6:12. Glad you can. Huh? Nothing. Yeah. I must never told me. Never told me.
All right. If you guys have any questions, as I.
About Steve. My cousin is
Yeah, I lost me too.
Scott, where did you go?
I'll double check that.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
If it is true inverse, it should give you a 100.
It's not inverse.
It's not inverse.
I need to like, one of our students, yes.
Right, so the formula for.
Are we finished? Are we done with it?
Determinant
Yeah, quiz.
times,
This is the quiz.
um,
We have a quiz, yeah. Why is it, actually, I'm gonna wait. Oh, there's the two different. So, yeah, I know that it's.
So these are the steps for finding an inverse. You gotta first find the determinant. Get that number and you'll put that number in front of your swap things, right? So these are part of your process.
So you guys didn't do anything like new?
I'll give us a quiz tomorrow.
Is it for this, or is it just for the determinant?
That's right, just
And
determinant.
then what's it asking for?
Here, if you see the vertical bars, it's also determinant. Yeah, so these mean the same thing. You see that vertical bar without any
Yeah.
bracket, it's just that vertical bar. That's just, this is notation for finding determinant.
They was trying to give us like crazy.
Like a mop.
They weren't allowed to give us like those, the testing.
I feel
Like, they had to do it.
Like, oh, there's no way. There's just really that. There's no way. I saw it. Here's one sitting goes there. It was pretty chilly. It's just, you know.
Yeah, she definitely.
Yeah.
Who, so?
Perform.
For dogs.
That.
I got the, she talked about how her kids are.
Maybe all the snakes.
I remember.
Oh, yes, I remember, yeah, like afraid of cockroaches.
Then I only get these on my 30
Nowadays.
Oh.
Dr. Combs driving a tractor.
No way.
That's
Over here.
Maybe the positive hope.
Oh, where's that?
It's like.
Yeah.
It's like.
I still got 48.
I'm from everything is like.
Guys, we've got 20 minutes, so I want us to be able to get through both pages. That'll be the classwork for today.
It was the picture
Exactly, right. You can swap the signs of things.
It's actually fully multiplied.
Okay, so singular language. Multiple clause. Determinants zero. A minus B, C is getting with you on the top.
Yeah. They can think like it. Exactly, this is no reason. Like, let's go by the board.
Brian is one that said she. Brian is one that said she created.
One document is system next to the other document, keep the same order.
Oh, I just. There's a different thing like we did. That's it.
So it's just multi-phone. And see if it's 1 0 0. It's actually one posting.
Yeah. I've done that. Doesn't produce.
That's the matrix version.
She drives the minivan and says, I drive.
It's like she's from the dark ages.
That's kind of.
The version of ours, in front of the.
Is it? That one, that dude.
So there would be like, yeah, we got.
You need multiply.
The keys are attached, so you guys should check your answers. Okay.
No, I do love.
Find like this.
I play D&D, so. No, I don't, you just like red lines. You said red line after you drop.
Yeah. She doesn't wait until she gets home. She's the middle of the last
Hey
thing.
guys, keep working, guys.
Hey, Weezer thing.
Yeah.
Guys, for number 7 and number 8, they're both asking for the same thing. So DET means determinant. And then number 8, they look like vertical absolute value bars. That also means determinant.
Oh, number 5 is multiple.
And when you get number 12, the word singular means where your determinant is 0, right? So that's what singular means, right? Can you find an X that will force that determinant to be 0? Oh, yeah, so singular means that I want my determinant zero. So just go through that process, do A minus B zero is the individual solve versus.
For 7 and 8, so it's,
Yeah, so number 7 just says find the determinant. And number 8, see that the vertical bars is no different than, there's no bracket, that also means found. So they both are notation for it's
okay.
Okay, so where does the plan determinant was?
Yeah, yeah, so you're gonna force that determinant to be 0, that's what's singular.
Wait, it's that inverse, it's really much.
Zero, one.
Let's find.
Actually,
How I know it's not.
okay, you know your inverse is not possible if you determine that.
Okay, yeah.
So if you see 0, then, but if it's anything other than 0, your inverse is possible.
Okay, and can you check it by like, if there's something wrong with my ideas? Yes, you got me.
It's not. Like, no, I get back to negative, but you know, like.
Yeah, this one just means find a determinant, and they see that vertical bar there, that's also. Different notation, but they're just asking. For one.
Negative colors, no ways, then he's trying to write it out.
That's right, that's not. Around there, that's the real notation. Guys, we'll go for 5 more minutes and then, stop.
Oh. I love taste. Let's just get into the read.
Like singular.
Yeah. Singular just means that, where your determinant is equal to 0.
Okay.
Or basically your inverse of this. So just do AD minus BC set equal to 0 and solve for X. Guys, for 9-7-11, I just want us to get more familiar with the notations. So if you can name your inverse with the appropriate name, so call it for number 9, do R to -1, B to -1, W to -1, just so we can have that additional practice of naming our inverse matrix. I want you guys to name your inverses. And the only time when the inverse is not possible is if your determinant is 0. If your determinant is not 0, you should be able to find the inverse for all your matrices. A few more minutes, guys. Okay, I have the keys for all 3 worksheets attached on the back of your packet, so. Oh, it's asking for singular means, can you force a situation where the inverse doesn't exist? So that just means your determinant is equal to 0. So just do AD minus BC, set equal to 0, and that way you can solve for X.
Copy on the quiz. Like adding and subtracting has to be like the exact like.
Exact same, multiplying your inner dimension have to be the same. And then inverse the determinant, we have to put little figures. Okay, so tomorrow, we're gonna do worksheet 2 together, or in class. And then the quiz is Thursday, so the worksheet 3, I meant for it to just for you guys to have as additional review to do Wednesday night. In preparation for Thursday's quiz. Okay, so hopefully you guys find this pretty straightforward. No surprises, so we'll just continue working through the review tomorrow. All right, pause and get your phone.